Howdy, y'all. If you're looking at mountain property or land near Asheville, North Carolina, there is one easy to learn skill that completely changes the game for everyone. And that's knowing how to read topography maps to understand slope. I'm Justin Godby with Revel Real Estate at Keller Williams Professionals here in Western North Carolina. And I spend a lot of time helping people like you evaluate land like this. Now, I've watched people fall in love with the listing, and they have no idea that they're basically just looking at the side of a mountain. Land photos are a lot like Tinder profiles in that way. Before you swipe right, read that bio, y'all. Because photos are great, but they don't tell you how steep the land actually is. And slope, it affects a lot more than just whether or not you can build. It affects how you're actually going to live on that land and enjoy it. Do you want a big garden? Do you want to build a workshop or raise animals? Or do you even just want to walk around your own land without getting out of breath? Because if it's steep enough, you're going to end up with thighs of steel, whether you wanted them or not. And if you don't know how to read slope, you can end up spending a lot of time riding around what we call hunting land. And that's land that's really great for animals, but probably not for building your next dream home. So let me show you how to check slope and read a topo map in just a few minutes before you ever go see a listing, so you can save some time. Let's start with the Buncombe County GIS. If the listing has an address, type it in. If it doesn't, you're going to want the PIN. The PIN or PIN is the parcel identification number. If you're on Zillow, just scroll down a little ways, and you can find it right here. Once you've got the parcel open, go to Map Layers and turn on the contours. Now, zoom in to where you actually want to live on this land. Not the whole property, but just that space. Each of these lines represents a change in the elevation. If the lines are spread out, then the slope is more gradual. If they're tight together, then it's really steep. Y'all, that spacing is everything. Tells you everything you need to know. If you want to go a step further, you can use the slope tool in the GIS to see the actual percentages, but they don't really have that in every county. As a general guide, under about 15% feels much more usable. 15 to 25% can still work, but things get a little more limiting. Once you get above 25%, you're usually dealing with something pretty complex, and over 30% is where you really want to slow down. Not just because of cost, but because of what the land can realistically support. Steeper land makes it harder to do absolutely everything. Grow food, build outbuildings, workshops, move equipment, keep animals, or even create just a usable outdoor space. Hard to play soccer on the side of a mountain, y'all. Now, let's layer in those regulations. In parts of Buncombe County, especially at higher elevations, steep slope rules can apply. These are meant to reduce erosion and landslide risk, but they can also affect what you're allowed to do on that land, and they usually require an engineered solution. So slope isn't just about difficulty, it shapes what's actually possible for you and your dreams. Now, let's talk about landslides. They're a real danger here in Western North Carolina. And because of that risk, it's a pretty big deal when you combine steep slopes, water movement, and disturbed soil. Now, that doesn't mean steep land is bad. It just means that you want to understand how water moves across the land and how the site behaves before you make any plans. And one mistake I see all the time. People look at a listing and they assume the whole property is either good or bad. But that's just not how land works. Each piece of land is going to have its own challenges. Now, a larger piece can still be steep overall, but have a natural shelf or a bench that works really well for a great building. So don't just zoom out. Zoom in. Look for the places where the contour lines open up. That's often where a home site or a garden or a workshop actually starts to make sense. If you want a more visual read, this is where tools like Google Earth or a paid app like Land ID can help. Now, Google Earth is great for quickly understanding terrain in 3 dimensions. Land ID does the same thing, but it's much easier, I think, and really useful if you want parcel lines, topo, map layers, and all of the information in one place. Either way, the goal is the same. Before you fall in love with a listing, learn to read the land. Because if you can do this up front, you'll save yourself so much time, so much driving, and a lot of frustration. And if you spend that time focusing on properties that actually support the life you're trying to build, it's going to work out well for you in the end. Now, if you're looking for land near Asheville and want a second set of eyes on something, feel free to reach out or drop it in the comments. And if you want more videos like this on land, homes, and living in Western North Carolina, go ahead and subscribe. We focus on homes, acreage, and big lives out here in the mountains, and we welcome you all to join us. See you around.